So hi, welcome back. In this session we're going to set our scene for shaders. Now, because we're going to take the actual model and reference into another scene where we have a lighting studio, I'm not necessarily going to do a major lighting in here, but I'm just going to set some basic stuff for us to actually shade the skin and all the other parts. So what I've got in the scene, I've got this light rig and a set group, just to be able to see things, and I've got a key light, some light from the top, and a fill light and a rim light. So we'll get something like this. So what I've also done, I've applied initially just one symbol material to all of them. So basically something like this, Arnold, just lighting test shader, something like this. And then I've got a camera, so I'll call this render cam, and we'll select our camera, we'll just position it like something like this. So that's that. And the other thing I would like to do is just set my render settings. Now, first of all, and this applies into the this works for the final render as well. So you have a choice of picking CPU or GPU. Now, depending on the computer that you've got, if you've got one of the latest computers with good graphic cards, then GPU works well. It's faster. My computer is not that new, so I might rely on CPU. But recently updated my NVIDIA graphic card driver, so GPU tend to work as well. It struggles a bit, but I'll talk about it anyway. So. So first of all, if you are going to do GPU, what you need to do these things quickly. So basically, first of all, it's important that you pre-populate the GPU cache. So that's simply like this. Once everything is set up, you can go Arnold Utilities, pre-populate GPU cache. Now this is the first thing you do, and what it does, it actually takes 15 minutes. In my case it took, I think, 10 minutes, but slightly less because the scene is not too crowded. But as it says, it can take up to 15 minutes, and it needs to be only pre-populated once when you install a new Arnold version, or if you update your graphic card. And if you've never done it, then you just do it once. The other thing is obviously the GPU's render settings. Now what you have in here, these settings are actually production level. They're very high quality, and if your computer is not powerful enough, it might not handle those. So for instance, in my case, if I go GPU, what I would do is change my filter type to box, and as it suggests, it says set your maximum camera AA to in the range of 30 and 50, blah blah blah, and set the threshold, the adaptive threshold, like 0.015 and so on and so forth, to get noise-free render. The trouble is, on my computer it takes a lot of time, so I've turned the adaptive sampling on, but I've reduced the maximum camera A to 5, and the usual camera A I left it to 3 initially to be able to do some iterative rendering. I know that it might not give me what I want, but we could do a quick test. So the image size is set to 2K square for now, and I've got a render cam, and I'm going to bring up the Arnold renderer, and I'll just do test resolution of 50%. I want to just get a quick render, and render camera shape, and let me just remove these things. I want to start from scratch. I want to start how you guys would start, and then I'll press the render. So this is the GPU rendering. It seems to be, so it's 8 seconds for a simple shader with no details. So that's what I get, and it's still noisy. Before I increase the quality, I tend to do something where I add a temporary preview denoiser when I'm using GPU. Now if you're using CPU and you want to see your denoising, how the denoiser works, you can actually select denoiser noise, but for a GPU rendering is denoiser optics, and we'll let that run as well. So it rendered when I applied the noise as well, so the optics one. So that's what I get. It's not bad. So well, I will see how it goes. If the GPU doesn't work, I will switch to CPU, but let's see how it goes anyway. So anyway, whilst this is done, I'm going to just stop it and just grab a copy of this. I will switch back and forth and sometimes get close to the face and switch the cameras between perspective and render cam. So something like this, and we'll let that run as well. Now what I do, I tend to click on the settings and make sure that my snapshot window is open, and I can take snapshots for comparison purposes, noise or color or the changes in the texture. I can quickly see it, and then click on it and then stop the rendering. So we are still on the GPU and we've got one shader for everything. But what we're going to do first of all, we're going to focus on the skin shader. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to leave the eyes and the main body and hide everything else on the character. And then what I'll do, I'll go to right click, new material, apply an AI standard surface, and we call this body skin shader or skin material. And what we will do, we'll pick a skin preset, S1, and because we're using GPU works on when it comes to subsurface scattering. In other words, the part of the standard surface shader where, especially for skin, for milk, for wax, for candles and so on and so forth, as you know, the light goes through the object and the light is scattered when there are thin parts of the object. So when you apply torch, put a torch against your hand for example, or you could see the light almost going through the thinner part of the ear of a character, especially if there is a light behind the character. So that's subsurface scattering, and you can find subsurface scattering in Arnold, and you can kind of look into it. This is what I mean. And to actually get these kind of things on the ears and the hands, and where there are thin layers, we kind of do that, and we tap into that attribute of the skin shader in here. And GPU in Arnold likes to work on the algorithm based on what is called random walk 2, and then this character is set to real scale, so it's 180 centimeters. What I've done, I've changed the settings in here to meters later on, once I've measured the character. The reason why I set to meters, I wanted to actually work with real life measurements, and I said to then I can actually work with the scale values of the subsurface scattering. In other words, control how far the light will actually scatter beneath the skin when there are thin objects. So you can see if the light was to hit the skull of the character, let's say, or this part, and then how far we let the light to travel within the mesh, and the radius of the scattering, and so on and so forth. The scale determines that much, that option where how far you want the light actually to go through the mesh. Anyway, we've got that set up. What I will do, I'll just do a quick render. We are in perspective, and I want to get closer to this part. And let's do a quick render. And whilst it's rendering, what I like to do, actually stop it, and then I want to use this crop region and just pick a section. I don't want to wait for the rest. Maybe I'll just pick this section and just rerun it. It looks like the denoiser that I have on the in here is not helping. It's almost like forcing me to go back to render settings and increase the quality a bit, because the denoiser is a post effect, but I still want to rely on it a bit so I can do some work in a fast. So now I've kind of got roughly what I want, but the skin is too translucent in a way, so there is too much subsurface scattering going on, and I want to reduce that. So because I've set the real life scale, so I'm going to go to 1.1 first. Okay, so we killed some of that. It was too much. The other issue we got blotchiness around here, and I think that's the denoiser causing it. But I also want to pump in the base color to work with the subsurface scattering. So this color that we've got, the skin color, there are two setups, skin 1 and skin 2. So that's the skin 2 is lighter, and then we've got skin 1, it's a bit darker, and we can make it darker obviously. But what I like to do for this one, I want to just pick this color, so Maya keeps a record of it, and then I go to base color, pick the same color, and I want to start pumping in the base color. So this is a bit of an iterative work, and you kind of have to test it. So we kind of got what we want there. We can still take it down, apply less of a subsurface scattering. So I could do 0.0, let's say 4. And when you keep getting kind of similar results and you're not seeing many changes, one thing I recommend you to do, just update your full scene, and then halfway through it you can just stop it. At least you kind of give a kick to Arnold and get it to refresh. Okay, so that was too much. We kind of killed it off, so why not take it down to 7. Yeah, we are getting some stuff there, and then we'll just run it fully. As I said, if you've got a powerful computer, obviously you can actually increase the render settings, the quality of the camera samples, and the adaptive samples as well, as it's suggested on the Arnold help. So I need to be. I think I might have to switch to. I might have to switch to CPU. I can work on trying to control this blotchiness, but it looks like it's. It seems to be more prominent in the GPU right now, and when I'm demonstrating and doing iterative work, it's quite difficult to go back and forth. And if I was to increase the settings, the quality in the adaptive sampling and so on and so forth, it takes time for me to go back and forth. So what I'm going to do is also test this in the CPU. So this statement in here, which you can go into Arnold Help, getting started with Arnold GPU, and these settings, if they work for you in terms of quality, with and so that you can avoid adding the optics denoiser. I'm suspecting that that's the one causing it, but I might be wrong. Anyway, I roughly got what I want in terms of the subsurface scattering, so I'm just going to stop it. I'm going to remove that one. So I'll just close Arnold. What I will then do, go back to CPU, go back to render settings, leave those as default, and check it to make sure that the filter is Gaussian. I think for now I'll just leave all the settings as is, and I'll do a quick render with a refresh first. So with the CPU rendering, I got this. It says that's the GPU, this is kind of the CPU, and with the denoising I can increase the this is the CPU denoising. I can increase the variance to 0.5 and patch reduce to 18, and that will kind of help me to eliminate some of those artifacts and noise. So yeah, we can go back and forth, but roughly this setup is enough for me. I will, in the final render, I will increase the render quality when I actually do rendering. I will test the batch rendering on a single frame first to see how it looks, and then if I'm happy, I will just render it out as an image sequence in the final setup. But anyway, in terms of the skin shaders, so I'm happy with this one, where I've set my base color to same as the subsurface, and then base weight to 1, and the scale to 0.07, and I'm using CPU right now, so I'm okay with this one. The next thing I'm gonna do, just quickly create an eye shader. So what I'll do, just go to new material, Arnold standard surface. Now just let you know, because I'm demoing this right now, I haven't actually used a polygonal mesh. I've used a surface shader, a surface geometry, a NURB sphere for the eye, and I've rotated it, as you can see, so it helps me to determine where I put the iris and so on and so forth. Anyway, so we'll call this eye shader. This is the most basic shader setup. Now you can have this one and then have a glass surface on top of it to actually create a proper eye shader, but this is the most basic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the color tab and the checkered box, and then I will scroll down to Maya's 2D textures, and we're looking for the ramp. There we go, and I press 6 on my keypad, and with the ramp, oops, I made a mistake, I put it into the wrong place, so I'm just gonna go back. It's supposed to be in the base color. There we go, and we're looking for U ramp and no linear first of all, and then I want to bring this in, replace it with the black, like this, like so. We can make it a bit smooth if we like. Maybe this one. Something like this. And we select the other one, existing material, eye shader. I need to name it properly. That's it. So that's the most basic. And we can kind of check its index of refraction and play with these at render time, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that, and I'll go back to tweaking it. Something like this for now, and if I need to tweak it, I'll go back and tweak some of these values, increase the roughness. And you can also, as I said, duplicate the same mesh and just simply apply a glass material, a new material with a glass preset. But for now, for this project, this kind of works for me. And if you want to colorize the iris, by all means do that. For instance, you can choose to use the noise, change the color, not this one. You know, green, blue eyes, and so on and so forth. Make some changes, and also we could use some of these values to add a bit of a noise, not too much obviously. Or you can actually create an iris manually out of another shape and just plant it on top of it. There are multiple ways of creating the eye shader, but for in my case, I just want to leave it black, just a simple iris like so. And that's it really for this part. So what we're going to do in the next part, we're going to talk about painting the body in Mudbox with additional detail, and also creating textures for the garment. So thank you for watching.